Now, where does the crash cymbal belong? It belongs on beat 1, right? Because that's where we put it. That's where everyone teaches us to put it, and we play our beat, and we put the crash on beat 1, and we mark everything, and we play our fill, and then we play a crash on beat 1 at the end, and it works. But it's not the only place we can put a crash. And I think sometimes we could be too ingrained that that is the only place we put it. And if that's the only place we put it, it continues to be the only place that we put it. So today, we're looking at breaking out of the mold of that being the only place that we put it. And we're going to start moving it around and reaping the rewards of doing so. If we're not going to put it on beat 1, where are we going to put it? Obviously, we can put it wherever we want, but today's lesson is kind of about moving it just a little bit off of beat 1, enough to be marking our change. We want it to achieve the same thing. Now, this is one of my favourite ways to spice things up a little bit, because if we play a crash just before beat 1, and then it sustains through our beat 1, we're still getting that same effect. We're getting that big explosive sound that carries over into the new section, sometimes without covering over the new section too much. It's kind of like big wash, beat 1, and that we're hearing that sustain over the top of the whatever we're playing different. And then sometimes putting it just after it can add a little bit of tension and release to the moment. So we're taking that crash cymbal and we're using it more to our advantage. We're getting more out of the crash than just mindlessly putting it on beat 1 and hoping for the best. So first things first, we're going to look at this just in some beats. And let's take him off of beat 1 to, let's say, 4 and, okay? So if we're playing our rock beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and... And notice I'm playing my crash on my 4 and then I'm really marking beat 1 on the hat and with my foot to give myself that stability in the fact that there is beat 1. Beat 1 is still here, but we're just not putting the crash on it. Now, this can seem a little alien at first if this is not something that you've done at all. So just take your time to get that feeling confident and get used to the fact that this isn't always where we put beat 1. So let's try the opposite. Let's try putting him just after beat 1. Let's go for the 1 and. 1, 2. Now, I hope that you can hear what I mean by that. Putting it after the beat 1 adds that tension and release. It's almost as if we're playing beat 1 because we can still hear it. That beat's not changing. Dun, dun, ka, gun, gun, ka. Beat 1's still there. But the fact that we're holding our crash until the and gives the listener that little bit of, oh, wait, there it was. We've got that tension and release between 1 and 1 and, which can be really effective. This doesn't have to be a big hit with the rest of the music. Used in the right place, that can just add just a little bit of tension release just in the drum part. But in my opinion, where this can start to get really fun and musical is when we use this in conjunction with a fill, okay? This does make it a little bit more difficult because sometimes aiming to land our fills on beat 1 is almost that landing pad that we're aiming for. Say that if we're thinking of ourselves as a little acrobat, we're grooving along, we're doing our little run, and then we're doing our jump, we're doing that fill, a little backflip with a split in midair, and then we're landing on beat 1. Well, now I'm suggesting that we're landing down a little trapdoor onto a platform that's just after beat 1, and we've got to allow for that during our little flip, our fill through the air. And we've got a plan for not landing on beat 1 and landing just after it. So to get used to this to begin with, let's go back to our crash on the 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And let's just play a really simple fill. Let's just think of our shibba dabba 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 dabba. And when we get to our floor tom, instead of playing 4E and all 4 hits, we're just going to play 2 of those hits. We're going to play our 4E and then we're straight to the crash. Okay? Now, I am going to be playing beat 1 on that kick on the hat straight after that groove. So this is the phrase that we're going to get. So there you have it. We're still landing our beat on beat 1 after that crash, but now we're hearing that crash kind of sustain over the top of our new beat. So say if we were changing a section from the hats to the ride, we can play that crash before it and then start our new beat on the ride, and we're already there. So say we were going from a closed hat pattern to a bell pattern on the ride. If I play my crash on the 4 and, then I can switch to that bell pattern on the ride, and we're straight there. Okay, so and then the same exercise to be put in our crash on the 1 and after that beat with our simple fill. Now, because I got this second floor tom here, I'm just going to be adding 2 hits on that floor tom as a 1 E, then and on the crash. But obviously, you can just play that as 6 hits on your first floor tom. It's really not going to make any odds. 1, 2, 3, 4. That, for me, took a little bit more getting used to. Although the fill is relatively simple, we're just doing our shibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba. The fact that we're playing through that beat 1, we're not playing beat 1 at all on the bass drum, we're playing through it, catching the and then we're back on our snare, really felt like that acrobat flying through the air, and you're kind of landing through the floor and on this secret kind of trapdoor under it. But as long as it's planned, then we're not messing up the groove. Our crash is just after, and then we're straight back to our beat, but it gives that really effective tension and release, and is actually quite a powerful musical tool when used in the right place. Now, those fills are obviously just exercises to get used to this, but where this concept starts to get really exciting is when we start exploring with our fills a little bit more, and maybe making our fills work with it more as a phrase. So the crash being before or after beat 1 is kind of part of the fill. So for example, one of my kind of favorite openers in this style is if we're playing just before the beat 1, we get a fill a lot like this. And you can hear what I mean with that phrase, that kind of playing that crash on that accent that naturally is in the rhythm really ties in the crash as part of the fill. Instead of it being fill, crash, beat, it makes that crash part of the fill, and then we're playing our beat after it. And for me, the whole thing just feels a lot more musical. So experimenting with some fills, especially ones that have big accents just before or after beat 1, and making that crash part of it is really where this whole concept comes alive. But first of all, we've got to get used to breaking that crash off of beat 1 to be able to do it with a bit of confidence in the first place. So now let's try it with a fill. The crash comes just after beat 1. 1, 2... And now with that one, playing that last floor tom on that beat 1, really gives that floor tom note on beat 1 a lot more impact by having that on its own and then the crash following. And there's that tension and release. There's that tension of this floor tom note where we didn't expect it, giving that so much more impact, and then releasing that into our groove with the crash afterwards. So all we're doing is moving a crash one note. Instead of we're just moving it that one note. And the effect it has is, in my opinion, much bigger than what it should sound like to just move one note a single beat. Now in this lesson we're only looking at moving this an eighth note, essentially 1/8 note backwards and 1/8 note forwards. But this is a concept you can apply to any beat you like. We can hold crashes back and play them on 2. We can put them wherever we want, and the effect that has is going to change depending on where we put them. But really what I hope you guys are able to take away from today's lesson, if breaking a crash off a beat 1 is a new concept to you, is the fact that we don't only want to put it on beat 1, and the ability to put it elsewhere is something that we're going to want to get the hang of. And by getting the hang of it, we're opening ourselves to this whole world of tension and release, giving fills a little bit more dramatic effect, and ultimately using the crash more musically depending on what the music calls for. So I'm just going to have a little play around and see what other places I can put the crash other than beat 1, and I'm interested to see you guys do the same, basically. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if you want to check out more content like this, then don't forget to subscribe and check out our feature-length lesson packs over at drum.dog. See you again soon.